Hey guys, this is Jannecke from Wisdom from North. I'm now at the Body, Mind, Spirit Festival and I'm here with Mas Sajady. I hope I pronounced it right.
I loved it. I loved the accent on it, so it was great.
Lovely. So you're here at the festival, you're helping people, helping people expanding into their glorious existence, I read. So tell us a bit about your work.
Sure. And it is the first time I'm here in Norway. It's quite beautiful, so thank you for inviting us here. So what I do is very different, is that through two near-death experiences that I've had. The second one allowed me to see who we are at a much, much deeper level. So what I do is I can scan people or look at people, again, whether you're here one-on-one or over the phone or, through somebody, and then I see where their core level issues are or where the problems of their life exist, because we all have a pattern that's running in our life. And then I help them edit or delete that pattern. And then once you edit or delete that pattern, well, your whole life changes. Your life changes from the inside out. So it's very, very fast from what I've seen, working on, tens of thousands of people across the world. I can change any aspect of one's life, physical issues. People cure themselves of disease, and the key word is I don't cure anybody. I help people awaken, their own healing abilities. Finances get better, relationships get better. It's a whole, redesign of your life structure, and that's what people want, right?
So I have to backtrack a little bit. You said that you had two near-death experiences?
Yes. So the first one was I had my jaws crushed in a warehouse accident. It was, a college job. That first one allowed me to understand who we are as humans, because most of us think that, who we are, like a teacher or an interviewer or a mother or whatever that we are, right? That's who we are, right? Plus, we have all the insecurities of who we think we are, which isn't real. So that first near death, as I separated, and I'm sure you've heard of people, they say, oh, I saw my body. Right?
Yeah, I interviewed many.
Yeah, exactly. So as I separated my real identity from the facade that we have here, I actually lived or was in that moment of grandness, the completeness that we are. I call that 99% of who we are. Right? At that level, well, you're totally grand. You're complete. You're a solid individual. There's no sense of lack because you're in your spirit. Does that make sense? So that was the first near death.
Can I just ask you, before that, were you open to these kinds of this kind of belief, or did you believe in an afterlife?
Really good question. So yes, so I was literally groomed to have these near deaths to catapult me to higher and higher realities of understanding of who we are. Because there's a lot of people who have near deaths, and if they're not ready for it, they usually get destroyed. I mean, they might see the beauty and grace and love of that reality, but then they don't know how to control it. Does that make sense?
Afterwards, when they awaken again?
Yes, when they have that near death.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, exactly. Because they see the beauty, but then they don't know how to connect to it. Does that make sense? They can see, again, the beauty, the grandness, the completeness, but then they see the distortions of this life. They don't know how the mechanics on, well, how do I live that life in this physical form, right? So in the beginning or before, I always had this thirst of wanting to know, that one solution that describes life. Like Albert Einstein, he wanted to create an equation on, okay, what's life about, right? It's a mathematical equation. That first near death really allowed me to see who we are at a greater level. So and that's what I do. I actually bring what you exists here to your full potential that's out there for you. You unite the two so you can live that, greatness here.
So you kind of opened up for some powers when you came back that you didn't have before.
Yes.
And do we all have these powers? Or?
Yes. People tell me that I have these supernatural abilities, and I do, but in reality, everybody has these supernatural abilities because we're all really the same, right? It's just that I found that path to get to that point, and now I'm going, hey guys, we all have these supernatural abilities. In fact, many people that I work with to transform their lives, they start to pick up on, say, intuition, which is much grander than your normal intuition, your psychic abilities, or anything like that. It's much more accurate. And you can use that intuition to provide again health, wealth, better relationships.
So how can me and those watching, how can we open up to our superpowers without your help?
Without my help? Good question. Sure. I call this going beyond mindfulness, because people go, and that's the trend, right? People go, well, it's be mindful. There's been yoga, there's been meditation, and I'm not knocking any of those down. But what happens is that's the surface level, right, of what we do. And that's why we keep repeating those patterns, no matter how much mindfulness there are in our lives. What I do without me, and I just do it much faster, that's all. I'm kind of like that spiritual geek goes, oh, this is what's going on with you, let's change it, right? So what you can do on your own is that, you pay attention to like your body movements. So you pay attention to your hands, right? Not your mind. So for example, like you're sitting here, or let me use another example. People who are on their phone a lot, you can tell that they're gone. Does that make sense? They're not there. I'm not saying not to use your phone. What I am saying is like pay attention to how you're holding your phone, how you're texting while you use your phone. You'll see you'll be amazed at how, say, connected you are if you just do that. When you're walking, pay attention to the way you walk. When you're driving, pay attention to the way you're holding your steering wheel. All those things that we forget about, because what are we doing? We're forgetting that we're here in physical form, right? Most of us want to escape our form. We want to escape our identity. We want to escape our lives. We want to go out there. You'll get lost out there. That's why many people feel lost, right? Stay here. Be aware of everything.
But that's been mindful, isn't it?
No. And the difference is, mindfulness is like you pay attention to how you think. Does that make sense? But that filter on how you think is still there. Does that make sense? So that's why it's different than mindfulness, right? So mindfulness is just being conscious of, your surroundings, let's say. But, your surroundings, if you remove the perception of how you see your surroundings, you don't do that. So that's the difference. But if you pay attention just to, say, your body movement, you'll see that, you go beyond mindfulness. You get to, say, peel away that layer of how you see your reality or your identity.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
Is it something you can shut off, or do you see, for instance, me now and the cameraman over here? Do you see right through us and our patterns?
No, I minimize it. Otherwise, it's too much chatter for me. But it's not something I can really shut off, because that's just me now. And that's the difference. So now, most people, they're humans, they want to have the spiritual experience, right? They want to reach into their spirit. So the way I live, and it's normal basically, by the way, and not anything different, is that I just am. So there's not me, there's not a spirit value. It's just me, so I just am. Does that make sense? So I'm always like on, so to speak, but minimized. But no, I can read you. You have back problems right here from what I'm seeing. It's just a void. If you want to, I can read you if you'd like.
Yeah, you can do a demonstration if you'd like.
Sure. Do you mind if I touch you? Is that okay? And it might work standing up better, but let's just see if I can. There we go. So for you, for example, and again, I'm not moving you or anything like that. That's just you shifting into, say, your real self or the way you see your body. So, since you almost have a void, say, in your heart space, it takes a lot for you to create, say, happiness in your life. Like, there's a lot of happiness in your life, but if you don't do all the things that you need to do, it just feels like that happiness will slip away from you. Does that make sense? So that's why I say relationships are always like topsy-turvy for you. It's not like a solid or definable relationship, because again, if you, say, screw up, or if you mess up, or if you do something wrong, you feel like that relationship is going to fade away from you. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So, and again, you might think it's you, or you might think it's the other person. It's not. It's just that you have this vortex that you can't, say, define who you are in this area. And this might go back to, from what I'm seeing, your relatives, or your upline, your generations like father, grandfather, whatever, they might have had heart issues, lung issues, circulation issues in that area, breathing problems, asthma, from what I'm seeing. Yeah, so that's where that comes from as well. Because if you're not, switch it. So if you're not resonating, because when I see you, I see your source code or how you create your body here. Does that make sense? So I see how you're created. Okay, like I'm a programmer, that's why I use programming language. Sorry. So I see that again. This area is not of, if you want to call it life force, right? So if there's no life force, you always have to create. So again, like in relationships, like we talked about, right? Is that accurate for you? Yeah, there's always a lack or need that you always need that something to say. Make sure that your relationship is on board or on track. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Are you speaking romantic relationship or?
any type of well, your say career, let's say, you're always afraid of something might happen that you might lose it, right? So you always say perpetuate forward, which is good. You've used it as a tool to keep going forward, but but if you keep running this pattern, say you become a billionaire, okay, it just magnifies. And this is where, say, and I work with people at those levels, this is where people at that level, they're still insecure about the level of wealth that they have. They're always feeling, oh, I'm not, I'm going to lose this wealth. Does that make sense to you? And then that wealth doesn't, say, create success, right? It doesn't create happiness. So that's what I'm saying. So although your relationships are really good, let's make it better for you. Let's make it like solid. Does that make sense to you? Or like long term?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, like long term relationships would be tough for you. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
This is why. Because you can't hold on to anything solid. Because there's a void here. Did that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah. So, career-wise as well. Does that make sense? It always like feels like it's like fades away from you.
I've
So
been an actress doing a million different jobs.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's why you do a million different jobs, because nothing will say satisfy you. Does that make sense? That's why you go from one to the other to the other, going. This is okay. This is, if I do this, I'm gonna find myself. If I connect with this person, I'm gonna find myself. You'll see that you'll find yourself, and you're very smart spiritually. I mean, probably physically as well, but spiritually, you get it. So you'll see, like, even by tomorrow, you'll feel like, I'm really doing good here. I'm really, say, solid here, and you can just be.
Wisdom from North, my show, is the only thing that I've really stuck with because that means so much to me.
Of course, yeah. So it'll feel even more to you. Well, and that's because it's a healing quality for you. Does that make sense? So, yeah. You'll see that it'll mean much more to you. It'll be stronger for you, and you can perpetuate, say, growth faster. Does that make sense to you? You'll see relationships like stay longer for you, right? So, yeah, exactly. And you probably won't get the heart issues or the circulation issues that run in your family. Does that make sense to you? Right? Because again, if that vortex is not there, then you can actually, say, heal yourself. So, how do you feel? How do you breathe? Breathe.
I'm okay. I'm a bit stunned, yeah, by what you're saying. I mean, we do have some of those physical issues that you've been talking about in the family, like lung issues and heart. And a lot of what you're saying is I can recognize unconsciously. I'm maybe not that aware of it, but yeah, makes sense.
So, the way you age, and again, this probably help you, but so you don't even have to age the way your elders aged, right? We call that hereditary pattern, but I've helped a ton of people, as they've aged, not get sick or not get ill or not have like lung type issues or whatever that in your family, that you have. Does that make sense?
So what did you do right now with me?
So when I see you, I see frequencies, like lines of code. Does that make sense to you? Or if you want to call it like sacred geometry, right? That create, say, the physical form. So at a deeper level, we are all vibration. Does that make sense to you? Right? So when I see you, I see how you vibrate. So I see that in this area, there's a void. Okay? So it takes a lot longer for you to connect with people, although you're very friendly. Does that make sense to you? Right? So that's why. So, so, um, so, so what I did for you was recreate or repair, say, the frequency that resonates here. Okay? And then you'll see in a very short while that your life will change. You'll actually see, well, like relationships for you will actually say gel and stay complete. And immediate changes for you, like by tomorrow, you'll see that you can just be happy without trying to be, I got to do this, I got to do this, does that make sense to you? You can just like settle in and be happy, right?
Amazing, amazing. You're helping so many people. Yeah.
And there's not a lot wrong with you, but people who have like fear issues, right? Abandonment issues, they've been abused, those are like, I guess, tragic things, and I didn't see any of that run in your family. Your family overall is good, although somebody might have gotten killed or died or anyway, randomly, but anyway, that's something else. But people who are, again, severely abused, or they always lacking something in their lives, or I just did this meditation on fear, right? Fear always controls them, right? Getting back into their control, right? Or if they have, again, like a disease or something that they can't, they run from one illness to another illness to another illness. I can help release that pattern from them, right? So.
Exciting. So when you worked on me, why did I move to the right?
Okay. So what happens is that, and it's technical, so I'll just make it really simple. So again, our physical forms aren't as solid as we think. Does that make sense? So just imagine that your spirit is a projector of your body, right? So your spirit projects a hologram image of your body. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So as I adjust, say, your projector or your spirit to more of a fine focus, you start to, say, shift, or your body doesn't know how to, say, create itself in physical reality, and that's why a lot of people move. If you were standing up, you would probably like fall over as I worked on you. So we can do that later if you'd like. But that's you coming into more alignment of who you are, right? This is where physical, like people's faces literally change as, the distortions, the abuse patterns like get removed. They get to see their real self. They get to turn younger and healthier, more vibrant in a very fast time frame. So when I tap into you, okay, I see that you've used being not good enough to help you succeed. So most people will have that pattern, being not good enough, and then they'll run patterns of proving that true, and they go, look, I failed at this job, I failed at this job, I'm not good enough. Does that make sense? So for you, you used it as a tool, but what happens with people like you become really, really super successful, but then you're not good enough. That success for you, the beauty that you have, all those things, the perfect husband or the perfect kids, you go, gosh, something's still missing to me, right? That's where like Hollywood movie stars or famous people, what? They commit suicide, or they're on drugs and stuff because, again, they don't feel good enough. So what I'm doing for you is like, okay, you can use that tool, but let's turn it around. So you go, hey, I am good enough. What can I do better? Does that make sense to you?
Much more healthy.
Yes. Again, you've done a great job. I see your mom. So you see your mom and then you rectify. So you're always a problem solver from your mom, for your mom. Does that make sense? You were more of a mother than you. You were more of a mother to her than she was to you. If you notice that. Does that make sense to you? You were her anchor.
I am her anchor.
That's why I'm saying you're more of a mother or a solid.
We're each other's anchors.
You might think that way.
Okay.
She might make you feel that way, but in reality, you're that strong component. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So let's do it in another way. I mean, again, your mom is super nice, from what I'm seeing, but that's why she's super, super nice, because she allows you to think that, you need her. Does that make sense? And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but then it makes you feel weak, right? So, and that's the way your, say, intimate relationships are. You'll attract somebody that's very similar to your mom, and then they make you feel super weak. So you think that you need them, but in fact, you're the strong anchor. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So, yep. And then you wake up, I don't know, your relationship ended like usually a 2-year mark, 2.5-year mark from what I'm seeing. Yeah. Your relationships don't go past 2.5 years. Does that make sense? At most?
It's been so long.
Okay. Well, anyway.
I'm falling.
I got you. You're so light. So if that makes sense to you, so you will attract people that will make you feel insecure, so they feel secure.
Yes.
There you go. So again, getting rid of all those patterns for you.
Oh, love to.
And then fixing this physical issue, the spine. So you don't have like heart or lung or circulation type issues, things like that as you age. Because again, that's not a necessity as you age, just like I said earlier with your lineage having circulation issues, or lung issues, or even breathing patterns. It doesn't have to be, it's not necessary for you. There you go. And you'll see that you'll feel really calm. Like you can just like be and just, really be calm.
Oh, it was like it twisted my whole body there.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing yourself for who you really are. So if you look in the mirror, you'll see how you really look, and you'll go, oh my God, that's who I've been looking for. Because you're always trying to find yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So deeper patterns of that, just to help people out, is where people have like eating disorders, when they're really anorexic, but then they look in the mirror and go, my God, I'm fat, right? Because they don't see the reality. They're in another reality or somebody else's reality. So they see that they're really fat in the mirror, or they feel like fat, but everybody else sees them because they're not in the same reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll see this. In fact, I don't know, does she look different to you? She looks totally...
Really?
Yeah, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, wow, I'm more solid and confident.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that fast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. What a session. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing this and sharing that we all have the powers and that we're powerful, because I think we need to hear that, how powerful we are.
All have the power.
Yeah. All the best to your work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Much light from Oslo. Bye.